You're listening to Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Two fans, two generations, all things Star Wars begins now.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Eric Vansel.
I'm Daryl Sanders.
And we're your hosts for this show. So first, I'd like to start out by welcoming, yes, we are returning to Twitch. We are now streaming once again on Twitch. Because there's actually been a lot of developments, actually, over the last, I don't know, a couple of days or whatever. Of course, as you guys know, eventually, very soon, there's a couple of things that are going to happen. And I'm hoping to get this done, if not, well, realistically, it won't be July, but it's sometime in August. Two things are going to happen. One, we're going to actually have the studio ready to where we're actually together. So that'll help because, again, sorry we're late coming on, but, you know, there were some technical issues, as is the case. The bad old internet struck again. So that won't be as much of an issue once Daryl and I are actually together in the same studio. The second thing that's going to happen is that our Friday show is going to be an all-encompassing entertainment show. It's going to be going beyond Star Wars. We'll start to cover other things in addition to Star Wars, like, you know, any movie, TV series, games, things like that. So you're going to want to watch for that because that's going to be a really big game changer for us. Another thing that's happened, and if you guys look in the link below, we now have a Discord server because I was trying to figure out a couple of things. One, I wanted to figure out a way where we can all communicate when we're not live and we still want to talk Star Wars. But of course, more than just Star Wars. I mean, I got forums in there for everything from music to television to general sci-fi to all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot that you guys can do in that Discord server, and I really want to try to bring this community together in a meaningful way. So check out the link below. You can join our Discord server. We're really looking forward to getting this going. Another thing, and this is actually the catalyst for this, is that I wanted to get a way to reward some of our Buy Me a Coffee supporters. And I wanted to have some of the higher tier supporters, like our Jedi Knights and our Jedi Masters, to be able to actually call into the show and talk to us live, kind of like a radio show. And, of course, also in the link in the description, you guys can join. That's right. You can join our Buy Me a Coffee thing. You can become a Padawan for $5 per month. You can become a Jedi Knight for $10 per month. Or, like a couple of you, you could become a Jedi Master for $25 a month. And you can see that there's different levels of support. You know, you get shout-outs, you get exclusive member-only videos. And, of course, all this is going to happen through our Discord. And if you're a Jedi Master, like at least one of our people, there's some things that you can get for that, too. So we really want to try to make a push to get some of these packages going. And, of course, you know, look, if you just want to float us, you know, a couple dollars here or whatever, that would help, too. Or, again, even if you can't support us monetarily, it's totally cool. Just hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends. That'll actually help as well. All right, so to get to today's topic, because, you know, we don't want to waste any more time. I mean, we were already kind of late coming on, so let's get to it. We're going to talk about the 10 Jedi who are powerful enough to be Palpatine. Now, it's funny because one of my coworkers, Adam, I'd almost like to get him on to get his, or at least get him in the Discord, you know, to really talk about this. Because he has actually hypothesized that Palpatine's not all that powerful. You know, he was like, oh, you mean anybody? Because we got into a discussion about if you really look at the movies, he traded power for subtlety. That's how Adam put it. And it was a really in-depth discussion that we had about how Palpatine doesn't really show all that power. Like, sure, maybe if you read the comics, maybe if you read some of the books or whatever, it's there. But if you really look at the movies, you know, so, I mean, that would be kind of an interesting thing. I'd actually like to pick his brain a little bit more on that and introduce him to the audience at large. And, of course, I want to welcome all the new subscribers that have come on board. There's been quite a few over the last few days. So, thanks for your support, guys. And as always, you can chat in as we're going through this list. So I sent you the PowerPoint for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure, there's been so many, like I said, I've been working all weekend, like till 2, 3 in the morning, like every day trying to get this Discord server. So I'm not really sure if I actually like sent this stuff to you or not, but were you surprised at all by this list of people? Because again, this is another thing that was provided by ScreenRant.com. What were your thoughts overall on this list of Jedi before we start to reveal these people?
My biggest concern
Ooh, it's a concern.
is, okay, are they just naming these are the 10, or are they ranking them?
You mean, in other words, is this
as-
list weighted?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, and we're going to get to that in the list because there's some...
if it is,
I know,
have
man.
some concerns.
I know. I
You're just
hear
talking
you.
about 10 people, and you're just listening to 10, I don't want to say random, but the 10 people who could, okay, I'm cool with that. If we're weighting these people in the sense of like, all right, who has the better chance of beating him? Yeah, we've got to talk.
All right. Well, of course, David already is weighed in. He says, it's a conglomerate of mixed emotions. Great show, gentlemen. May the force be with you always. Well, thank you, David. Lastly, is the gift box coming still? Yes, it is. But you have to understand that you sort of took us by surprise by actually becoming... Look, I'll be completely upfront. Well, let me read the rest of this. It's, excited to get it. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. It's one of those things where, I'm going to be completely transparent with you here. It really kind of took us off guard when somebody actually started coming up with these packages. Because honestly, as much as I would love for this show to grow and expand, and look, like I said, I worked all weekend trying to get this whole Discord server set up, which is going to, by the way, David, you are the only Jedi Master, which means you have access to that channel. Of course, you're the only one that has access to that channel other than us, but we're starting to actually roll this stuff out. So yes, all this stuff, the t-shirt, all this stuff is coming. We just have to have time to make it because, again, caught a little off guard. We're not a big channel, so, when we started getting people responding to the packages, we're like, oh, I guess we got to do this now. So it is coming. And I got your shirt size and everything's cool. And we really do thank you for your support. And we hope that more people join you. And actually, like I said, you know what? I'm going to do this again just because I can. If you guys want to support us like David does, go ahead and choose one of these different packages. And as you can see, all you got to do is go to buymeacoffee.com/head-to-head-SW and you can support us because I promise you, this is going to be a fun channel. We are really going to try to bring things forward. Like I said, we got the whole Discord server thing going now. There's a lot more to do there than just the typical Star Wars discussion. And, it's going to be a lot of fun. David also goes, the first... Oh. Uh-oh. There's something going on with this now? Let's see. Yeah. Wow. All right, well, I'll just have to read these things out. Gotta love this stuff. That first comment Eric read was from a previous show. I'm not sure how that happened. Okay, I thought so. Yeah, well, it's because for some reason our thing's not working. Let me actually see something. I might be able to actually fix that. Oh, yeah. I think I fixed it. Hold on. Let me see if that's fixed. Nope. All right.
Nope.
Well, we'll just roll on. It's no big deal. I'll just read the comments that come through. Technical issues happen every once in a while. We had a bunch of them before. That's why we were late coming on. But yeah, basically David said, Daryl got the crispy lineup. The question is disrespectful. The greatest of all time is unkillable. Like the Wolverines are unbeatable. And, it would really be interesting, David, to pair you with my coworker and good friend Adam, who basically has the opposite opinion, where he says basically Palpatine was kind of a wuss, and he didn't really prove squat in the films. Just saying. All right. So, all right. Well, let's get into this list. I think it's about that time. All right.
About
So,
that time.
yep, about that time. The number 10 person, unsurprisingly, is Luke Skywalker. Now, I will say this. I thought that Luke would be a lot higher on this list. I'm just going to start out this list because now I'm getting in a little bit into your thing, where if this thing is weighted, I'm going to have a serious problem with that. Again, this is Screen Rant's list, but I don't know. David said, Adam spun the world into sin. So how much does he really know? You know what? I'm definitely gonna try to see if I can get him involved in this whole thing. It would be actually a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know. I thought Luke would be a lot higher on this list. Now, again, I think that if you look at it from the standpoint of the new canon, maybe you can understand why he ranks at number 10 and not a little bit higher. But I don't know. Even considering the new canon, I would say that he would have to rank higher than this.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, without question. I mean, he's the grandson of the Force, and then on top of that, I mean, the only appendage he lost was a hand, as opposed to his father. And we see how powerful Vader was, and he was just a torso and a head, pretty much. So, I mean, yeah, if we're going based upon the midichlorian thing, if you're factoring that into the equation, I mean, Luke is way higher. And then on top of that, he's been trained once again by one of the greatest Force users ever, Yoda, and he actually himself becomes a grandmaster of the Force. So he's right up there. He actually, we talked about this, that he eventually surpassed Yoda. So there's no way that he's definitely on the list, but there's no way he's number 10. So for the sake of this conversation, let's just say that these are just 10 people.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna say this isn't weighted. Yeah. Man, I really want to get this because we have a Twitch user that commented. Yeah, there it is. It's working again. There it is. Valves BTW. Hey, what's up? What's up, man? We're glad that you could join us over there on Twitch. Look, it's been a while. I got to say this right off the bat. I know I keep interrupting this thing to talk about other stuff, but you know what? It's been a long time. We've had a Twitch channel for a while, and DB Dishy, remember him? He was our guy that always used to comment to us on Twitch. So I'm really glad to see that there's somebody there on Twitch, because again, full disclosure, we've been kind of ignoring our Twitch channel for a long time. But now that we got that Discord thing, which again, you can hit the link in the description. It's got our Discord server in there. You can join it. We'd love to have you. Yeah. I mean, we're glad to have people. Okay, so Hi's back, which of course we know is Dom now. Says like Solo, he actually meant Luke, the entire Empire. We actually had a conversation earlier today where I said if there's anybody who could beat the Empire, in other words, take on the Empire by itself, it's this guy right here, Luke Skywalker. Look, Luke Skywalker is a super powerful, whether you're talking about Legends, whether you're talking about the current canon. I agree with you, Daryl. This cannot be a weighted list if you have Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker down at number 10.
Yeah, in the number 10.
I mean, in the number 10 spot, really? I mean, that's just... yeah, it just blows my mind that, like you pointed out, he's the grandson of the Force. How could you say that? That's just insane to me. But you know what? I'm going to take a breath. I'm not going to let this get my blood pressure going, because I'm going to need, I don't know, what's a blood pressure medication, like Tenormin or something. I'm going to need some of that by the end of this show. Because, again, when we looked at this list, and I'm curious on, look, you guys, chat in. Whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on YouTube, chat in. Let me know what you guys think of each one of these entries, because much like Daryl, I kind of had some issues with it, to be honest. In the number 9 spot, we got Revan. Now, look, we all love Revan. Okay, if you guys are unfamiliar with who Revan is, he was a guy that popped up in the Knights of the Old Republic. Now, being that I'm me, I actually have the article that screenrant.com, which again, I want to thank these guys for putting together this list. It was an interesting list, and every once in a while, we will deviate from the news and maybe reviewing shows or whatever, and take a look at some things that are going out in the Star Wars world and say, you know what? Let's review some of this stuff. And ScreenRant.com just handed this list out about the 10 Jedi who are powerful enough to beat Palpatine. And we're like, yeah, let's talk about that with our community. So obviously, Revan and Palpatine existed in different periods. We know that. But considering both experience and powers, Jedi Revan at the height of his powers could fare well against Palpatine in a fight. He does exist in canon, because remember, they did have that Revan statue at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. So, and look, Revan's a fan favorite. So,
and he's knowledgeable of the light and dark. He's been on both sides of the spectrum, literally. So
that's true.
He was super powerful on both sides. So that also that's one of the main reasons that really allows him the ability to beat Palpatine.
Absolutely. Now, Chad, of course, says, are you saying Chad in or Chat in? Well, that's a matter of interpretation. We would be more than happy to chat in, but you can also chat in if you want. I don't know how many more bad puns we can make off of your name, Chad.
We're not your girlfriend, Chad, so it's just chat in.
I'm too old to be his girlfriend. You know, I shouldn't really say that, though, because I am like the last person on the planet Earth that should be criticizing any kind of thing like that. I should just, you know what? I should just kind of stay out of it, maybe. I don't know. Let's just leave it in. You know what, Chad? You can chat in. You can chat in. It doesn't really matter. It's,
hey man,
it's all
take
good.
Up to Higgins.
Well, you know, I mean, look. And that's the thing that's fun about this community. And again, I hope you guys, you know, I hope you don't get sick of me doing this, but our Discord link is in the description link. And I really hope you guys join that because, hey, look, you know, we're really all about this. I really want to start to continue these discussions just off of that because honestly, we get into such amazing things on this channel that it's like, man, you know, I really can't wait be live again from Monday to Friday and then Friday to Monday. And it would be really cool to be able to chat with you guys. You know, it's like voice chats, all kind of stuff. Hi. Dom basically says, anybody on this list from Visions? You're such an instigator, man. You know what? And let me tell you something. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to watch Daryl's hate on Visions. Although, to be fair, you did kind of like this last season of Visions, didn't you?
I wouldn't say like.
Well, come on. I mean, you gave most of the episodes like a 7 or whatever. Now, granted, that's a Vision 7, not a real 7, but
exactly, it was tolerable. I didn't, you know, want to like slit my wrist or anything after watching these episodes. So.
Well, that's good. I mean, not slitting your wrists is a good goal to have for, you know, any kind of a Star Wars thing, right? All right, so where are we now? We're like number 8 or something like that. Okay, so number 8, Yoda. This should come really as no surprise. Now, again, this might actually come as a surprise to some because he didn't fare as well as one would have hoped in Revenge of the Sith. But I have my own feelings on that. I'm curious on your feelings on that, Daryl. What do you think? How do you analyze that battle?
Okay, so here's the deal. Like when you look at that battle between Yoda and Palpatine, they were reasonable. I mean, you have to think about these two guys are like, you know, the two greatest of each side. You
Yeah,
know,
light
Yoda's
side
the
versus
greatest of the
dark.
light.
Exactly.
So when you look at it, it's like, okay, Yoda it shouldn't be that Yoda just mops the floor with Palpatine or vice versa, because like I said, they're both the titans of their sides. So it should be a very close, narrow fight, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
In this particular battle, though, Palpatine just quite frankly, I don't want to say cheated, but it was kind of like he had outside help. I mean, because it's not like Yoda was really losing the battle. It was just the fact that, okay, once the stormtroopers popped up, or the clone troopers, as I said at the time,
Yep.
once the clone troopers popped
Yep.
up, like, okay, Yoda's like, okay, I can't take on this guy and deal with like
Right.
100,000 of these troopers. Like, there's no way. I'm powerful, but I'm not that powerful.
Exactly.
So there are
Exactly.
limitations to, and that's the thing I love about Yoda is that they made him have limitations. It's like, okay, he's good and he's amazing because I mean, let's just look at the things he was able to do. Not only was he able to block the force lightning with his hand, which Palpatine has some of the most vicious, powerful force lightning ever, he was also able to like absorb it, shoot it back at him. I mean, Yoda was really exuding a lot of power in that battle. And even Palpatine was kind of like marveling at the fact that I was like, okay, I'm chucking stuff at these little Senate pods at him, and he's catching them and then sending
Mm-hmm.
them back at me. I mean, once again, going against gravity, you're doing a lot of different things. And once again, Palpatine had the high ground. So it it
Oh,
really
the
showed that
dreaded
Yoda
high
was really,
ground. Yes.
yeah, so it
Yes.
showed that Yoda really was really powerful um in that whole battle. It's just the fact that he became overwhelmed with everything else that he had to
Mm-hmm.
kind of deal with. So if it was just strictly 1-to-1, I really would have loved to have seen who would have kind of really truly came out on top.
Well, not only that, but you got to look at it from the standpoint of it was a little slanted, right? He had the high ground. It was a little bit of a weird fighting in the whole Senate pod room or whatever. Yeah, that was a little strange. And I think we said this even at the time of Revenge of the Sith. If it had been a situation where they were fighting on more even ground, I think Yoda
Hmm.
would have ended up actually vanquishing the Emperor at that point. So,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to see. Now,
And for story purposes, one more thing though, for story purposes, you had to have it that way simply because it would have made sense when Yoda made this statement to Luke when he's like, "Don't underestimate the
yes,
Emperor."
yes, absolutely,
It's like,
absolutely.
so you kind of have to have a reason as to why Yoda would say that. So
Now,
there's that as
High,
well.
of course, says, "Nah, Luke should be much higher." And you know what? I mean, we agree. Again, I have to say that this I don't necessarily think that this list is weighted. I mean, I can't imagine it being
It
weighted.
it can't be.
I mean, it's
It
like,
just simply can't be.
oh, and then David comes in. Ray better not be on this list. Dude, I've got some news for you. Not only is Ray on this list, she's kind of high on this list. So, look, again, even if they intended this to be a weighted list, which I can't imagine any universe where this would be a weighted list. I mean, granted, it was kind of a top 10. And let me look at the article. I mean, yeah, they kind of do have it as like a, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Well,
I
they
don't
just said
know.
that they're just listing the top powerful ones. They're not saying like it's just you don't know if they're saying
That's
that
true.
these are
They're
the
not
top
saying
10
most
people
powerful, right? They're just saying that these are the 10 people that are
top,
powerful enough to
enough
do
to
the
do it,
job. Yeah.
but not in any particular order that would say like, okay,
Wow.
this person has the best chance, or he would easily beat Palpatine or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Exactly. Now, um, well, actually, this is kind of funny too. Um, Hi basically agrees and then says that Ray loses in 10 seconds. Now, it should be noted, as much as I'm not necessarily in favor of this, that she was ultimately the one that does beat Palpatine. I mean, in The Rise of Skywalker, look, no matter where you land on this whole thing, she is the one that technically does it. And let's not forget that you can make the excuse that Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter. That was the way that they tried to explain her ridiculous overpower. And in fact, um, Hi basically makes an excellent point. She has plot armor, and that's basically what it comes down to. They wanted
Mm-hmm.
to make a powerful female character. He goes on to say she can't die. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. Let's just be real, right? I mean, this is one of the problems that people had with the sequel trilogy, actually, was the fact that she knew things that she shouldn't have known. Things were too easy for her. It's the typical like Mary Sue thing that they come up with. Okay, so now who do we have in the number 7 spot? Here's the thing. Let's see how many of you guys out there know who this is. So this is Nomi Sunrider. All right. Now, I'm sure everybody's going, oh, yeah, of course, right? Now, I will say this. I am a guy who has read a lot of the old expanded universe novels, which are now called Legends. And that's why you'll see occasionally there's some people that we have on this list that will basically have the Legends tag after them. And that's what it is. They come from the old expanded universe, whether it was the games back then, the books, the comics, whatever. Right? Because when Disney came in, they basically blew all that away and said, you know what, we're gonna scrap all that. We're gonna brand it Legends, so the stories are still there, and you guys can check them out. I mean, they're still there. We're not gonna make them out of print or anything, but we're going to come up with our own canon, and from now on, anything that comes out, whether it's books, games, movies, whatever, it's all going to be canon. Which, again, I mean, that was something that I kind of supported. But I do think that they blew away some of the stuff that was actually kind of cool. Nomi Sunrider, I don't think I've ever heard of her. Now, I actually called her up on the Wikipedia here. And she was a human female who served as a Jedi Master and later a Grand Master in the Jedi Order of the Days of the Galactic Republic. She married Andor Sunrider. I'm trying to see, there's like a whole bunch of stuff. She was in the Sith Wars. Trying to see, I'm just scrambling through this stuff because I'm trying to, a lot of these people, we have no idea who these people are, right? I mean, now I'm going to give you guys what Screen Rant said about her because this is their whole, reason for having her on this list.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So while Palpatine claims to have become all the Sith in The Rise of Skywalker, the Sith story predates Sidious significantly. Now, we know that, right? We know that there was a planet and there was a people called the Sith, and the early Sith lords more or less enslaved them, took on their name. I mean, there's like a whole thing about this stuff that if you guys are interested in, you can certainly get into the minutia and the details of it. And, you guys will actually see a lot of, there's a lot of really cool stuff about it, honestly. But basically, it's saying both in canon and Legends, Nomi Sunrider lived during Legends' Great Sith War. Now, the Great Sith War was this big war between, the Jedi and the Sith, and there was this whole thing. And again, the Sith Lords that we know now kind of enslaved them, and there's a Legends version and a canon version. And it's going to be interesting to see is it James Mangold that's doing Dawn of the Jedi, I think?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So that's supposed to deal with the very early rise of the Jedi and, how they came to be and all that stuff. I'm wondering if they're going to actually deal with the Great Sith War, to be honest. What else?
It's a great possibility.
I would think so. So Nomi had the spectacular ability. This is interesting. She could sever someone from the Force, including dark side users. Assuming Nomi Sunrider would be strong enough to use this ability against Palpatine, she could defeat him in a fight. So if you're not really sure what all that means, it means that she could basically use her power or whatever to strip Palpatine's dark side Force powers away. And I guess that would do the job. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you don't really have to be an expert to know that if you strip Palpatine of all his Force powers, he's pretty much done.
Yeah. It's like putting Superman under a red sun.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that would be exactly what it would be like. And bonus points for not mentioning Batman so it doesn't trigger David. Speaking of David, he says Screen Rant should lose subscribers for number 7. Do you even know who she is? I mean, look, I will admit that some of these people, you're kind of scratching your head going, seriously, I don't even know who this is. But you know what? We know who number 6 is. Number 6 is Anakin Skywalker. Now, this one is an interesting choice to me because I think, again, Palpatine himself during the duel with Yoda did say, well, eventually Anakin's going to be able to eclipse both of us, and none of this really matters. So if you're looking at this from a standpoint of Anakin Skywalker, not Darth Vader, could he beat Palpatine eventually? Then absolutely, unequivocally, yes. Is that how you read this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was Palpatine's whole reason for getting him in the first place, is because he realized that, like, okay, this guy has potential, and I would rather have him on my side, because when I'm done, like, he's gonna take over what I'm doing, and no one pretty much is going to be able to stop him except maybe his own children. So
right. But don't you find it interesting though that he's number 6? I mean, the Luke is number 10. I mean, again, I know you basically just got through saying, like, look, man, we can't weight this list at all. And there's no guarantee that Screen Rant was even trying to create a weighted top 10. Because if they were creating a weighted top 10, there are some very deep issues with that. But if they're not,
oh, absolutely.
If this is just a, hey, listen, 1 through 10, this is just 10 Force users or Jedi or whatever who are powerful enough to beat Palpatine, I can hang with that. And by the way, let me just take this time. I'm looking at our viewer count here, and I'm looking at the amount of likes that we have. It's not matching up. So I'm really going to need everybody that's watching this right now to click the like button, because the algorithm likes it. It makes everybody happy. It makes us happy. And that way I don't have to mention it again for this rest of this video. There we go. And now it's starting to get up there. All right, that's what we like to see. So yeah, I think that Anakin, and I think it's because he's the more pure blood. So here's the thing. I don't have the problem with Anakin being higher on the list than Luke.
No.
But I do have a problem with both Anakin and Luke being lower on this list than they are. And again, I know we're talking about the whole weighted thing again, and I'm trying not to look at it that way, but anytime I see a top 10, that's why, by the way, even if Screen Rant weighted this list, I didn't weight this list. That's why you won't see a 9, a 10, an 8, a 7 in these things. From our standpoint, it's like, look, here's 10 guys that have the power to beat Palpatine, and here's why. All right. So that's that. Now here's the next person, dude. I've never heard of this guy. Thon. I'm never in my life. And again, I have followed the expanded universe pretty closely. I have never heard of this guy. So he is a contemporary of Nomi Sunrider, which tells me exactly nothing. And
all you need to know, really.
It's like, oh, well, if he's a contemporary Nomi, well, that puts it all into perspective, right? So Thon is one of the most fascinating Jedi from Legends. He's fascinating to me because I've never heard of him. And I admit that I haven't read every single book from Legends, okay? There was a lot of them. Like, for a while, maybe the first. So Legends started, if you want to talk about the old expanded universe, it started with the Timothy Zahn trilogy. And it, so that was 1991. I would say probably through maybe 94, 95-ish, I was pretty good about reading most everything that they came out with. Because, again, back then we were really hungry for Star Wars. But, I mean, admittedly, they started pumping them out a lot faster than I can read them. And I don't know if this guy just slipped under my radar somehow. Like, I never even heard of him in passing. But
this looks like a scene from The Land Before Lost or something like that. Like,
well, that's the other. Yeah, I mean,
you got this guy. I mean, he looks like he's off Green Acres or something like that. I mean, it's just what's happening.
I don't know. I don't even know if they know, honestly. Uh let me see. Let me look over here to okay. So it could be very imaginative, or they're talking about the expanded universe. Could be very imaginative compared to the movies, no kidding. Thon is an example of it. Yeah, no kidding. This is a word. Chuktai is one of the most powerful Jedi who ever existed, and his knowledge of the Force arguably rivaled that of Master Yoda. You know, anytime they want to talk about some guy who's powerful, it's always they rivaled Master Yoda. That right there tells me that Yoda should have been higher on this list.
Absolutely.
If they could rival Master Yoda, but they didn't actually rival Master Yoda, why isn't Yoda higher? Okay, that's all right. I'm going to stop. Let me. So, in fact, Thon knew things about the Force the rest of the Jedi Order did not. You know, it's actually making me want to find out more about this guy. In addition, Thon's body could be a weapon itself. From his unique physique to his Force powers, Thon could hold his own against Palpatine and perhaps defeat the Sith Lord. Now, I was looking him up on the Wikipedia, and he basically so Nomi Sunrider was actually one of his apprentices, which is interesting because she actually she was a little lower on the list, but still. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff about this guy.
It makes me like Thor's son or something like that.
Well, it makes me think that I should have heard more about him. You know? I mean, if you think about it, right? Like, if I haven't heard that much about him, then is he really... Okay, let me get to David's comment here. David says, Anakin or Darth Vader? You see what I did there? Anakin beat greatest of all time when he was past his prime. It doesn't count, and it was a sneak attack. Anakin is a backstabbing Judas. Wow. Well, that's a take on the whole Emperor Vader thing that I hadn't really thought of before.
You can't really say he's a backstabbing Judas when that's part of the culture of being a Sith Lord.
That's a good point. That's actually a very good point. You're supposed to. When you're a Sith Lord, that's how you're supposed to basically, that's how you advance. Right? I mean, the idea is, what's the thing? One person to have the power, the other to crave it or something like that.
Yeah, it's like, you can't be the man. It's like, as a once great Ric Flair once said, in order to be the man, you got to beat the man. And so until you can beat him, I mean, then you can't be the man. So there you have it.
Okay, so what number are we even on here? Number 4. So number 4, I don't understand this, right? Yoda's lower on this list, but this guy's higher up. Mace Windu. Now, Mace Windu is basically number 2 to Yoda. And don't get me wrong, I like the fact that he's on the list. I just think he should have been a little bit lower on the list. Like, I think Luke should have been higher. I think Anakin should have been higher. I think Mace should have been a little bit lower. I think, Nomi Sunrider and Thon, these people we'd never even heard of, should probably, it's like, right? I mean, okay, who are these? Look, if you guys know in depth, I'm not talking about like, you're going to go look them up on Wikipedia and school us. We could do that. If you guys have actually read the books or the comics that these guys are featured in, I want you to leave the comments in the comments section below this video. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, I don't know. I don't even remember. It's been so long since I've been on Twitch. Do whatever they do on Twitch. But, right? But you could also join our Discord. Links in the description. And you could definitely leave the comments there. Because I would really like to know, who these people, like, where did they appear in? Because it's weird that I missed it. All right. Mace Windu.
Well, with Mace, I mean... That's a trick. I mean, it's a tricky one. Like I said, I'm not saying that. I definitely agree that he probably could beat.
Oh yeah, he almost did. In fact, in Revenge of the Sith.
And that's what I'm saying. He almost did. And there's the argument that Palpatine kind of let himself because,
Yep.
and he knew Anakin was coming. I don't know.
I know
I
it's
think it was a
tough,
matter
man.
of. I think
It
it was a
is.
matter of convenience. I think it was just like, oh, Anakin's here, cool. How can I spin this? And that's what I think honestly happened because, quite frankly, that's what Palpatine is really good at. He's good at deception. He's good at misdirection and things of that nature.
Hmm.
Now, Mace being who he is, I think what's cool about Mace is that, as indicative by his lightsaber, he's able to merge the light and the dark,
Yes, and that's
and
something
not.
that a lot of people don't really realize about him. And this is something that is explored, admittedly, a little bit more in the books and comics and stuff. But yes, he essentially calls upon both the light and the dark. So, absolutely.
And he has his own lightsaber style.
Yeah,
He kind of created. So it's kind of unique. He's almost kind of like a Bruce Lee in a way.
a
If
little
you really
bit.
think about it,
A
he's kind
little
of like a
bit.
Bruce Lee of Jedi, where he kind of created his own philosophy within the Force realm. He just doesn't have enough knowledge of the Force to conquer Yoda, but most don't.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think I'm a little bit disappointed why Yoda's lower on the list than Mace. It's
Mhm.
because Yoda, who did fare better, and I mean, look, Palpatine, if you look at his whole demeanor and everything in Revenge of the Sith, I mean, he was on his game. He was like, okay, Yoda, this is Yoda. And Yoda came
Mhm.
in and he, just casually like swipes away his Imperial guards or Royal guards or whatever, with just like a wave of his hand. And, of course, there was that brilliant thing where first Palpatine like sends him across the room and then Yoda uses a force and pushes him. He's flipping over a chair. I mean, there was
Mhm.
definitely that Clash of the Titans thing going, right?
Absolutely.
Mace fared well, but it wasn't quite as good as Yoda. But again, maybe in a more fair fight, maybe when Anakin's not involved, if Anakin had just stayed where he was supposed to and let Mace just deal with it instead of being
Mhm.
thrown, pardon the pun, out the window.
Oh.
Look, I had to do it, man. Come on now. I mean, all right. So, of course, Hi is just like, bruh. like, I mean, it's like, I told you, man, this list is going to be a little bit painful. I mean,
Yes,
we
yes,
said right
Dom.
at the
He is a
gate,
bruh.
he is, but no, he's
See what I did there?
a brother. See, this is
Oh.
different. This is like the A versus thing, right? I mean, just saying. All right.
Careful with
So
that.
I know. I want to keep supporters, right? I don't want any dislikes on this thing. All right. So David says I'm torn because Samuel L. Jackson is the man. I think we can all agree with that. I can't be
Yep.
mad at this choice because it's Sam. And okay, so your reasoning's a little bit questionable, canonically speaking, but I mean, all right, fine. We're gonna hang with
Right.
that, right? We're just gonna go with that. We're gonna let that be the case. But again, I think that, and that's the thing. I don't necessarily agree with, although Thon and Nomi, I have no idea who these people are, straight up, just in full disclosure. But I don't have a problem generally with the list itself. If it's not weighted, I can hang with it. I have a severe problem if it's weighted. I think that's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of having a severe problem, where are we on? We're on number 3. And guess who's number 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy's favorite Jedi, the Mary Sue herself, the one
The
who,
incomparable
yeah, who
Ray
just
Skywalker.
Ray. Now, of course, again, you got to give a little bit of a pass here because canonically speaking, she is the one that ends up, um, beating him. Just, I don't know. I don't know.
I have a rebut.
You have a rebut.
Yes, I have a rebut against that statement because, yes, she's the face of that. But let's just ask ourselves the question. If she did not have the push from all the deceased Jedi that came before her, would she have won? I think the
Well,
answer is quite obviously no.
no, of course not. And I mean, look, you
And
can't.
that's my point. Is
But even
like,
before
so
that,
my
though, you can't even discount the whole like dyad thing. Like if Ben hadn't come to her aid, right? Even before all the Jedi, I am all the Jedi. You know, I mean,
yeah.
before all that stuff, right? I mean, because that's another thing that just bothered me. It's like, really, like Rey's gonna be the one. Like you guys are all gonna unite behind her. I mean, I don't know. I was just so bothered by that whole ending of the Rise of Skywalker. Like it actually made me kind of angry, honestly. Like I was just like,
here's my thing, and this is the part that, if you really look at things, she really didn't exhibit any real skill at all.
careful. That's what
Like,
Adam
okay,
said about Palpatine.
well, here's my thing though. Here's my defense.
No, you're right. I mean, I'm with you
Because when you look
100%.
at when you look at the fight when she had, like, okay, she got the crap kicked out of her by Snoke.
Yep.
She couldn't even really beat Snoke without Kylo's help. Right.
Right.
And then when she did battle Kylo, she really didn't beat him. The only reason why she won was because he saw Han.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was
So
kind
once
of a
again,
tricky move, actually.
exactly. Like, so once again, she really, it's not like she's winning based upon her pure talent and ability.
No.
So, okay. So then now you're going to tell me that this chick who can't beat Kylo Ren, can't beat Snoke, all of a sudden can beat the greatest dark side user
I
that
know.
we
Look,
know of.
if it had been
doesn't
anybody but
make any
Palpatine, man,
sense.
I know. It doesn't. It really
And,
doesn't.
I get the fact that she's her granddaughter, or his granddaughter. Okay, cool. However, you still have someone like Luke Skywalker, who is arguably the grandson of the Force.
All right, I got to get Rey's face off of here. Go ahead.
The grandson
I can't look
of the
at her
Force,
anymore, man. I'm
trained
sorry.
by Yoda and Obi-Wan, two of the greatest Jedi to ever live.
Yeah.
You're the son of Darth Vader / Anakin Skywalker.
Preach it.
And he lost to Palpatine. So, and this is after, and then, so you mean to tell me she's able to, a Palpatine that's basically been regenerated to almost a prequel age Palpatine, because when he sucked the life force out of Kylo and Rey, he pretty much looked like the way he did in Episode 3.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, because he spent most of that movie as like Emperor on a stick, right?
Yeah,
and it's true that once he sucked the life force, and now he's like, hey, I don't actually need any of you guys. I can just regenerate myself. That was the problem I had. Plus, Palpatine had actually exhibited some pretty cool powers by then, right? Now he's shooting lightning up and like destroying all these ships. And I mean, it was just ridiculous. And like you said, like Luke ended up ultimately kind of losing, because if it hadn't been, let's face it, if Vader hadn't stepped in, Luke would have died. Luke, the grandson of the Force. I don't care if you're Palpatine's granddaughter or not.
And that's only because Luke threw down his weapon. He refused to fight.
Well,
we
yes,
really don't even know if Luke would have won or how he would have fared if he
no,
actually did
fight. We do, because Luke, if he had been, let's just say, a little bit further along, he could have blocked the Force lightning, but he didn't know how to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I guess you could maybe say that there is a little bit of wiggle room. Very little wiggle room, I might add, where you could say that maybe Luke was just kind of taking one for the team because he wanted Vader to act like, oh, Father, please. You know, he's thinking in his head, like, all right, if he doesn't act in like 30 seconds, I'm going to have to stand up and block this lightning and wreck shop. But
Hmm.
I want to play the victim so my dad will come in and save me kind of thing.
Almost pull a Palpatine, basically.
Almost, yes, exactly. That would almost be like the whole like Mace, Palpatine, Anakin thing,
Hmm.
right? But I don't know. I think that scene actually plays out as we see it. That Luke made a choice, said, "You know what? I'm not going to do this. I am a Jedi like my father before me, and
He
it's a
just was
so
scared
be
to
a
go to the
Jedi."
dark
And
side. He was, because I think the thing was is that he felt the dark side rising in him, and he was just trying to suppress that.
well,
I
that
think
could be
that's the
too.
reason why
And
he.
he was willing to
That was the
sacrifice
reason why he.
himself.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was just like once again, just showing his father, like, okay, remember, this is who you could have been. This is what you should have been. And it was just like, man, I get to see how I should have turned out in my kid.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Like, oh,
there's
that's the
that.
attitude I should have had. It's
Exactly.
probably thinking like, yeah,
but
maybe I would have handled that Mace thing a little differently. All right.
but this whole thing with Ray,
I know.
especially, do I think she could? I don't think she deserves to be on this list at all. Forget being
No, and
number
that's
3.
my
I don't
thing.
believe she should be on the
Exactly.
list at all.
Right. She's not powerful enough to beat him. All right. Anyway, let me get to some of these chats because a lot of them. So if Daryl didn't make the black joke, I would have. And Eric's comment, ha ha ha, love this show. Well, we love you too, buddy. Hi has like a million things here. He said, there ain't no way. We're talking Ray. She wouldn't win
Exactly.
either way. Just plot armor. The Jedi were just desperate. I love it. For
Exactly.
someone to win. You can actually put these on the same line. Just saying. And then David comes in and says, Rey is so awesome. She's so brave and powerful and a strong woman, breaking through the barriers of sexism and the patriarchy. Her force power is I'm a woman. Whatever that means nowadays. It means that Kathleen Kennedy has basically pretty much projected herself. See, she's sort of in that position that Luke was in. It's like you see Rey and all that, but really on somewhere like on Acto or something is Kathleen Kennedy like floating. Projecting herself. The bones of Palpatine could kill Rey. I like that one. That should be
That's a good one.
That should be another T-shirt.
Yeah, T-shirt shirt.
Yeah. Well, it's like, and Dave's like, "Will I ever get that?" And then of course, I says, "Couldn't have said it better myself." Yeah. Well, that's just the way it goes. All right. So now let's just all decompress collectively from Rey here because we all agree that she probably shouldn't even be on this list. I mean,
At all.
I was so angry when I scrolled down and saw her. I'm like, of course.
That's why I couldn't wait. That's why I was biting my tongue because I had to get that off my chest.
That's it. And especially when David was kind of like, oh, I hope Rey's not on this list. I was like, oh, no, she's on this list, but she's kind of high up. So, all right, but here's somebody. And I didn't actually remember who this was by name. Galen Merrick. He's a Legends guy. But you know who this guy is? If you're a gamer, he's the guy who's Starkiller from The Force Unleashed. So, a little bit of background on him. He's pretty much, Vader, of course, and this is all canon. This is still canon, actually, where once Vader turned and he was in the mechanical suit, he started to realize, like, oh, you know what? Palpatine pretty much tricked me. Screwed me over, and now I'm stuck in this situation. I shouldn't have listened to him, and now I want to kill him. I really want to kill him. So what Vader started to do was he started to try to train his own apprentices to join him against the Emperor. Now, of course, when we start to see this in the films, it's pretty early on. In The Empire Strikes Back, after Luke and Vader are dueling, that's when Vader comes down with the whole, join me and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son and overthrow the Emperor and all this other stuff. But what The Force Unleashed decided to do was do sort of what George Lucas started to do with the Clone Wars. He kind of put in like little pockets of, hey, that's actually a cool concept. Let's go a little bit before that, in between A New Hope and it might even be before. I don't actually remember the timeline of The Force Unleashed. It might even be between episodes 3 and 4. But somewhere in there, Vader decides to take on apprentices. He takes on this Galen Merrick guy, and he's the main playable character in The Force Unleashed. Now, let's just see what Screen Rant had to say. So there's a list of characters who would be interested in defeating Palpatine. Can definitely do it. Would not be completed without Starkiller. Galen Merrick's story is a complex one, and his journey was far more personal than the usual Save the Galaxy Star Wars thing, right? That said, considering Star Wars Force Unleashed's power levels, and this is something you and I used to talk about even back then when this thing came out, long before we had any kind of a show or podcast or anything. Starkiller is arguably more powerful than most Jedi who ever appeared in a live-action or animated Star Wars project. Players actually get to defeat Palpatine in The Force Unleashed, and Galen Merrick's very existence was a threat to the Emperor. Now, the thing that makes this interesting was I remember you and I were talking about this, right? Like, okay, we're seeing the movies, and all of a sudden we're playing this game. This guy's like pulling down Star Destroyers with the Force. He's right? He's deflecting like TIE fighter bolts and all this. Way, way more powerful stuff than what the movies could show, obviously, because they could with the technology and the fact that it's a game. And this is something that we saw as a recurring theme in the sequel trilogy. That was actually one of the few things that I liked about it overall, was the fact that they finally brought some of those more fantastical powers to the Jedi. And even the Rise of Skywalker. I mean, I hate to say the R word, but Rey, when she reached up and she like was holding the ship in place, and then Kylo, and they're like doing this tug of war, and then of course, yeah, and then of course she surprises everybody by unleashing a bunch of Force lightning and looking at it like, oh, I wonder where that came from. I'm like, well,
oops,
we kind of think we know, but that's actually one of the cooler things. So when you saw Starkiller's name on this, what were your thoughts on it, number one? And number two, did you actually expect him to see him this high? Because essentially he's like, what, number two? Hey, he's like number two.
Once again, like I said, as far as I did look at this weighted, so I really didn't. As far as him being this high, I don't think he could beat Vader though. If I'm remembering the game correctly, like he couldn't take out Vader. So I kind of wondered, like, okay,
he beats Palpatine in the game, so I don't know. But the game isn't canon though, especially back then.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking back then sure, I guess.
I don't know,
but
I don't know. It's tough because here's my problem: once you start bringing in Legends characters, to me, things are falling apart now, because even though you can make certain... I mean, how many times have we said they could actually adapt the Thrawn trilogy, and that's Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, Last Command. You can... Which essentially was episodes 7, 8, and 9 in the expanded universe. First books, right out the gate, they kicked off the expanded universe, and we all thought naively that Disney would look at that and go, oh, well, there's a million like built-in really cool stories that fans already like. Let's just start adapting those to film. They didn't do that. So the problem is when you do something like, okay, we're going to take all this canon and we're going to make it Legends or whatever, right? It's like, okay, now you're trying to include this in this all-encompassing list. And it's like, okay, well, beat Palpatine when exactly? Legends Palpatine? Canon Palpatine? You know what I'm saying? It's like you're convoluting the thing in a way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it makes it a little harder to really gauge when you start bringing in content or characters that really aren't official. So, and especially when there's not a whole lot of context behind, behind them, so it's kind of hard.
I know. That's the whole thing. All right, well, you know what? Let's go to our number one. Now, our number one kind of surprises me a little bit that he's so high on this list. I think he should be on this list, absolutely. But the fact that they put Ben Solo. Now, again, let's just note right out the gate before anybody starts, like setting the world on fire with their fingers because they're typing so quick. This is Ben Solo. This is not Kylo Ren. That's a very important thing to note. For some reason, I just feel the need to point that out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with Ben Solo only because, while unfortunately we didn't get a chance to really see him as Ben Solo, we've only seen him really pretty much as Kylo Ren. But even as Kylo Ren, I mean, he was doggone powerful. I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that he was
Yeah.
able to, like, reach into people's minds, he's able to hold blaster bolts in midair without even holding his hand up to it. After a while, he could just carry on mindless conversation while this blaster bolt is just wavering in the air. He's also, excuse me, he was also able to sustain himself after taking that massive hit from Chewie's crossbow,
That's
and
something
was
that's
still able
overlooked
to,
a lot.
to hang into a fight. He was able
Mm-hmm.
to kind of hold himself together while still trying to maintain himself in a battle. So even though he lost the battle to Ray, it's only because he was really, really injured.
Right.
So I think that, now the question becomes, and I don't think this is even really necessary, because people might try to bring in the whole dyad in the first thing between he and Ray that makes him super powerful. But we also have to remember that, once again, he's part of that Skywalker lineage. He's
Yes. Yes.
Leia's daughter, and
Yes.
Leia's the granddaughter of the Force, which makes him the great grandson of the Force. So once again, he's part of that Skywalker lineage. And if we're bringing the whole midichlorian thing, he didn't lose any limbs.
He's like the only Skywalker that hasn't, if you really stop and think
What's
about it.
up? What's up for Leia?
What limbs did Leia lose?
No, that's what I'm saying. Leia didn't
Oh,
lose
all
any.
right, all right. It's like I got confused there for a second. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember any. I mean, she was blown out of the spaceport, but all right. So Hi says, I think Obi should be on this list. Yeah, no.
No.
Look, let me just refresh your memory in case you've forgotten. All right. So let me take you
Oh
back
boy.
to let's do story time. Story time with Eric Vansel, right? All right. So let's
Everybody
go
come around the
back.
fireplace.
Yeah, let's
Let's go.
I
Let's hang
promise
around
I won't
Mustafar
make
real
this
quick.
I will not make this hurt too bad. But let's go back to Attack of the Clones, right? All right. So Obi-Wan and Anakin are about to face Count Dooku. And of course, he says, "Hey, we're going to take them, together or whatever." It's like, "All right, whatever." Okay. So they go and they start to fight Count Dooku. In exactly 30 seconds or so, Obi-Wan is taken out of the battle completely. Like Dooku just, I don't know, what did he do? Hit him with Force lightning and he's gone?
And which
Something
one?
like
2
that?
or 3?
2. Because they dueled for a little
No,
bit and then...
he actually he
Oh,
fared
no, that
better
was a
in 2.
lightsaber thing, right? Was it when he got like hit in the arm and the leg or something with a
And leg,
lightsaber?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he dropped that pillar on him, and then Yoda caught it for him.
Right. But the point is Anakin had to finish the battle.
Right.
Okay, let's go to episode 3. Same thing. They go to face
Now,
Dooku. Now it's the Force lightning. Dooku like vanquishes him in like, I don't know, 5 seconds or something. Like they barely even start fighting. Now, granted, I'm going to give you this. Obi-Wan is supposedly one of the most powerful Jedi like ever. And for the most part, this is true. Okay, and Obi-Wan was also, I think, only the second guy who learned how to do the whole Force Ghost thing. And I don't know exactly how he shared that knowledge with everybody, unless he appeared to everybody. I mean, he might as well, right? He had nothing else to do. But it was one of those things where there are a lot of things that Obi-Wan could do. And I remember one of the things that you and I talked about, even when we reviewed Revenge of the Sith recently, which again, if you guys missed it, especially all you guys on Twitch out there, come to YouTube, right? And then look at our playlist. And somewhere in there, we got this whole What is Star Wars series. And in that series, what we did was we took the first episode, we kind of went over what Star Wars is. Here's like a lot of the influences that Lucas used to kind of make it, we just basically gave you like the roadmap to here's how Star Wars was created and what makes Star Wars Star Wars. And then we did the super cool thing of we decided to review each of the films. Not just the 9 saga films, but we included Rogue One and Solo and each one. Now, one of the things that you and I talked about, I think when we reviewed Revenge of the Sith, it could have been Attack of the, but I'm pretty sure it was Revenge of the Sith, is we talked about the fact that Obi-Wan was, in fact, a pretty powerful Jedi, but it just seemed like the plan that you and I talked about, where what should have happened is that Obi-Wan and Yoda should have first went to Mustafar and taken care of Anakin together, right? Because then Yoda could have counteracted any of that emotional baggage or whatever of the whole brotherhood of Obi-Wan and Anakin, and then the two of them could have then fought Palpatine. Now, of course, Obi-Wan would have stood no chance against Palpatine, but he would have been like cannon fodder, right? He would have, like, sort of occupied him while Yoda, I don't know, did whatever. But that's not what happened. So I know where you're coming from, but I just don't think that, that would have been a good thing. Now, David said, this guy, this lame dude, he's a male Rey, trashed and overpowered for movie ratings. He's talking about Ben Solo. Yeah, not at all.
No,
Zero.
he's
Couldn't
not,
disagree more.
Yeah, he's not overpowered, and here's why, David. As aforementioned, once again, he's the great grandson of Darth Vader. He's the son of Leia Skywalker, so he already has, and his uncle is Luke Skywalker, who also trained him. Not to mention that he had training from Palpatine.
Yep.
In the form of Snoke. In the
form
of
actually
Snoke,
both.
You know what I'm saying?
Because so in episode 9, we see how Palpatine and Kylo are talking, right? But we're not necessarily privy to every little conversation they had. I mean, there might have been a little bit of training in there. Again, I know that's speculation, but carry on.
Yeah. So by that point, he's definitely not overpowered in the least bit, because he actually had formal training from like a grandmaster in the Force.
Yeah, you know what? That's an excellent point, because I never really stopped and thought about this until, of course, David brought it up and you answered it. But it never really bothered me. Like, Kylo is super powerful, but it's contextual power, right? Like, there's context for all that power. It doesn't seem out of the ordinary or out of sorts like Rey's power is. Even though you can sort of argue, like, look, if you want to talk about that whole dyad in the Force and how Snoke is the one that technically put them together, but I don't know. There are a lot of convoluted things in that. I will grant you that. I don't necessarily think that Kylo and later Ben were overpowered, and Ben did have some challenges. Because that's the other difference, by the way, between Rey and Kylo or Ben, right? Is the fact that Rey had like 0 challenges. I mean, there was nothing. If you really go back and look at episode 7 all the way through, she's really had nothing, unlike Luke, who had to go through some struggles and things like that, the typical hero's journey plot that's very popular in literature. Rey had none of that. Especially in episode 9. It was like there was not even any drama or any struggle, anything. It's like they went off on this mission and everything was just so easy for them. And I think that that's what bothered everybody about it. It wasn't really the plot. It was how that was handled. Hi, says, take Rey out and put Obi in her place. Says,
I would agree with that. I mean, if you're going to put somebody in,
sure.
If you're going to replace, I would definitely replace it with Obi-Wan before I would have Rey up there.
Oh, absolutely. And he goes on to say, I think they wrote Obi's character to fail in the long run, and be like a sad death. Well, that's partially true, but partially not.
Yeah.
Because, so Obi-Wan, of course, again, when you look at literature and you look at the story construction of the hero's journey, you have a situation where you have like a wise and old wizard who is there to guide our young hero, and eventually he sacrifices himself for the good of the order. I guess you can, if you, for lack of a better term. And so what you're seeing in that is Obi-Wan realizes, and of course, look, this is all way more obvious to us here now in 2023 than it was back in 1977 when I was first watching this for the first time. Because if you remember, Obi-Wan said to Vader, if you strike me down, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. If you stop and think about that statement, that's a pretty heavy, bold statement. I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. That's insane. Now, we, of course, didn't really realize, even through the original trilogy, we didn't fully realize what was going on. But when you look at it through the totality of the franchise, and I mean, factor in everything, including the Obi-Wan series, especially the Obi-Wan series, you see that what Obi-Wan was doing was he realized that in his, in his physical form, he had taken the whole thing as far as he could. In order to help Luke through the rest of the journey, he had to become this Force Ghost. Now, of course, what we didn't know was that Qui-Gon Jinn was the first Force Ghost, who then taught Obi-Wan how to do it. So Obi-Wan, in the back of his head during episode 4, knew, hey, look, I can do this whole little Force Ghost thing if, in case of emergency, break glass, right? So that's what he ends up doing. Because if you actually rewatch episode 4, it's not like he fights. He just kind of lifts his lightsaber up and lets Vader, Because at first, when we were first watching this in 77, we thought that's just what lightsabers did. Like they just vaporized you or something. We didn't realize.
Yeah, I mean, if you really watch that scene again,
yeah,
he's gone before Vader even hits him.
Right.
That's why Vader was.
Right.
That's why Vader was stepping on the rope because
I know he's all like stepping on the rope. Like the funniest thing that I think ever happened was when you. I don't remember which show it was either, but you brought up. You're like, you got to wonder if Vader went back to Palpatine, like, hey, did you
have you ever seen this before?
Have you ever seen this? Yeah, like so here's what happened, and has that ever happened to you? I mean, did anybody just, I don't know, like disappear? I don't even know if I hit him. The robe didn't even get cut in half. I stepped on the robe. I made sure he wasn't there. I don't think there was a trap door in the floor. I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, you
just asking.
Thinking maybe you haven't shared everything with me, and you gotta imagine Palpatine like, I don't know, but I mean, he's gone, right? Yeah, he's gone. Well,
right, exactly.
All right,
oh, well.
Then I guess we're good. I mean, you can imagine that kind of conversation, right? Because nobody had ever seen that before. So I don't know. I don't know,
well,
but
especially after he makes that statement, that's what makes it so.
Well,
that's why Vader did that,
right?
Because he's like, if you strike me down, I become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Then he lifts his blade up, basically surrendering himself. Vader takes a swipe at him, doesn't even hit him. He disappears. Vader's like, okay, I don't ever recall this ever, hearing about any of this. And so that's why he's stepping on the cloak like, okay, is this some new Force trick that I don't know about? Like,
well, the funny thing, too, is he's got to be going,
like, honey, I shrunk the Jedi or something.
But here's the thing. I didn't even strike you down. You said, if I strike you down, you'll become more powerful than I can possibly imagine. Here's the thing. I technically didn't strike you down.
Didn't strike you. True
you
story.
Just kind of disappeared on me. So what's up with that?
Yeah. He ghosted him. See? Obi-Wan was the first person to ghost somebody.
Literally, because he did become a Force Ghost. He Force ghosted somebody. All right, we're here all night, kids. So Hayek says, in what order would you rank these characters on who would be best against? Ooh, that's a good one. All right, well, I'm just going to say, just for the sake of argument, that Thon and like Nomi Sunrider are probably going to be 9 and 10 respectively.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm going to look at this list. All right, so for me, I'm going to say Luke probably, then Yoda, then maybe Revan, then Mace, then Anakin. I don't know. Maybe then Ben, then Garrick. Then well, I guess from there it would be like Nomi and Thon. That's kind of where I'm going with it.
Let me see. Probably go with
While you're thinking about that,
Number 1.
who was number 1? David said, "Honey, I Shrunk the Jedi." That's about it. So now you're going 1 to 10, right?
Yeah. So let me make sure. I'm gonna go Anakin number 1.
Really?
Luke.
You're going Anakin 1?
Yeah.
Well, all right. You know what? I can see that. You know what? I'm not going to freak out. You're probably right.
You want to go head to head on this one?
Well, at least then we would finally be living up to the show.
So we can go Anakin number 1, Luke number 2, Yoda 3, 4.
See, it's not easy.
4, I would say Ben. 5, Mace.
Okay.
6.
So you're actually saying all these guys above Revan, really? See, this shows me you never played Knights of the Old Republic, did you? Did you? I don't remember. You might have played that one.
Yeah, but I don't care. Half of them are descendants of the Force. What do you mean?
Hey, Mace is not a descendant of the Force.
No, he's not.
I think I know why you're saying Mace, but look,
affirmative action. Absolutely.
You gotta, I know you need one of your own up there. I get it.
Exactly.
I get it.
He's the old.
I understand.
Yes, we
can. Oh, no. All right, I'll let it go. Oh, man, I'm going to have to get my composure back for that one.
All right, so Mace. Then I would go Revan.
Okay.
And then, so was that 6? 7 would be...
Yes, is it? Didn't you just I don't know, you included everybody practically, right? Did you say Luke?
Yeah, Luke was number 2.
Yeah, you did.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Luke was number 2.
Yeah, Luke was number 2. You got to get Nomi and Thon in there.
Well, they're like
9 and 10.
8, 9, and 10. So that probably would put well,
then you
Rey
got everybody.
At 8.
Oh, yeah, you didn't. No,
Rey.
You didn't have Rey. Was Rey the only one you were missing? Oh, and Galen.
I think so. Okay.
So Galen 7, Rey 8, then Thon and Nomi or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go. But again, and look, there's some people on here, or maybe not on here, that probably should be. Again, we're going Jedi, but I know there were some earlier Jedi that were butt kickers. What about what's my girl's name? The High Republic chick, Chris, Chris.
Avar
Chris, yeah. That chick should be in there. She's super powerful. Actually, half of the High Republic people should be in there. Now, I don't know. Let me see what's the date on this list. Because sometimes they'll do that, right?
I'm surprised Leia's not on the list, honestly.
Well, yeah. You know what? Well, probably because, she was sort of a Jedi, but sort of not. I would almost classify her as Force user, although she was training. Okay, so this was published in July of 2016. So this totally should include some High Republic people, but whatever. It's just a list. All right. But the question is, you guys, what do you guys think about this list, number 1? And who would you put on this list? Come up with your own top 10, put it in the comment section. Or, even better, put it on our Discord channel. The link is in the description. All you guys have to do, click on that link. There's a couple of questions that you got to answer. They're not hard. This isn't college or something. So just...
Not the ACT guys.
Yeah, exactly. Just answer the questions, become a verified member. From there, if you're one of our YouTube subscribers, there's a couple of channels in there for you guys specifically. And if you support us on our Buy Me a Coffee thing, where it's either maybe you do a one-time support, but if you actually do these packages, right? If you're a Padawan or a Jedi Knight level, then there's a supporter channel in Discord for you. If you're the Jedi Master level, well, then there's another pure channel in there for you as well. So there's a link in the description, buymeacoffee.com. I think it's /head-to-head-SW. Oh, yeah, it's right in front of me, actually, on this graphic. Look at me, I can read everybody. So, join one of these things. Help support us, because we really do want to grow this channel and start to maybe make some more videos and do some more stuff. And we want to interact with you guys on Discord. So Friday, I don't actually think we discussed Friday's show yet, did we?
Well, I do have.
Oh, somebody has a topic. You got a topic. By the way,
Yep.
I mean, I hate to keep hammering this. I know I sound like an infomercial, but the Discord channel, there's a show topic suggestions. And that's another thing that you guys join the Discord. I want you guys to start suggesting some topics for shows, because if it comes from you, it means you're going to watch it. All right, what is your show topic suggestion?
New Star Wars movie will showcase the dark side at its most dangerous.
Really? Oh, you're going to have to send that to me. All right. There you have it, guys. Daryl called it. That's what it's going to be. New Star Wars. Is it an upcoming Star Wars? Well, I guess it is, but...
Yep.
All right. So upcoming Star Wars movie is going to show us how dangerous the dark side, or the most dangerous... What? I just messed that up.
How dangerous the dark side is.
All right. David already has his own list, unsurprisingly, in the chat, because he didn't follow directions. David, you have to join our Discord channel. If nobody else on this thing joins the Discord channel, you have to, because you're the only Jedi Master so far. So he says, Samuel L. Jackson, he means Mace Windu. Number 2, Yoda. Number 3, Vader, he means Anakin. I love the fact. Number 4, Luke. Where's 5? I don't see a 5 in there.
David's a product of DPS.
Oh, all right. Public education, I understand. All right, so I guess we're gonna skip number 5 and go to number 6. Han Solo's an honorable mention, and Rey is last. It's not even 10 people.
Again.
Okay. So I'm just gonna say this again slowly. In the comment section. Not the chat, in the comment section, put your top 10 Jedi. Because I would like, I don't know about you, I would like to see people's weighted list. Forget this, here's 10 guys that could probably be Palpatine. I want it weighted. Number 1 means this is the person that would have the most chance of doing it. Number 10, they could probably do it, but maybe they would barely be squeaking by. Kind of defeating on a curve, if you will. Teeth. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, so again, make sure you guys join our Discord channel, because if you're on Twitch, we got a space for Twitch subscribers. Oh, and there's another thing, too. You guys could promote your streams on here, especially if you're a Twitch user. That would be kind of a thing. People would like that, right? So you'll be able to, if you're streaming on Twitch or whatever, you can promote your stream on our channel. You can share some videos on our channel. Again, it promises to be fun. I'm going to be checking on there every day. I'm going to chat in some people. We got some voice chat stuff you can do. And eventually, like I said, we hope to get people actually calling into the show, kind of like a radio thing. All right, let me get this last one in from David. David says, I'm a Jedi Master and Daryl's not. Don't worry, Daryl. I'll be your Yoda. All right. Well, that's a good way to end it, I think, right?
You will try.
Oh, nice little Anakin reference. All right, guys. Well, as usual, it was fun chatting with you guys that were in the live chat. Hopefully, you guys go back and you leave your top 10 in the comment section. Friday, we're going to be talking about an upcoming Star Wars movie that's going to feature the dark side at its scariest. All right, so you don't want to miss that Friday at 8. Again, if you want to support us, the Buy Me a Link, Buy Me a Coffee. Don't buy me a link. BuyMeACoffee.com link is in the description. please join our Discord. That link is in the description. So until Friday night at 8 o'clock, I'm Eric Vansel.
I'm Daryl Sanders.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
Head to Head, a Star Wars podcast. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at HeadToHeadSW. Submit your questions for our next show. Visit our official website at headtoheadswpodcast.com. Until next time, may the Force be with you, always.